everyone. I hope that you had a great Christmas and you're looking forward to New Year's Eve and New Year's 2023. Every time a year ends and the new one begins, I'm like, where did the last one go? So, yes, they do go faster and faster the older you get. I don't know if it's just like you observe more throughout the year or what happens, but I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas. I would love to personally invite you to check out the stuff that we have going on right now. Dr. Barry Powderly and I are going to be talking about a couple of cool opportunities for you, especially if you're guys. I know most of the time when I show up, you're expecting me to talk to women, and women, yes, you're welcome. It's just come to my attention and my observation and in conversations with great boot campers and clients like Dr. Barry Powderly that maybe men in our profession need a soft place to land. So, Dr. Barry, thanks so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. Let's just like jump right in. Like, what conversation have we been having, and what does it mean for men to find a place to connect and grow and live up to their potential?
I think a lot of times men are expected to know things, and like you talk about all the time, like you can't hold yourself accountable to things that you never learned. But I think men, I don't know if this is true, but I feel men more so than women are expected to like understand how to be a boss, understand how to run a business, understand how to like wake up every day, put your pants on and like go work hard. And sometimes you didn't learn that from your parents growing up, or you didn't learn that in school. Like you don't learn about that in school. So having a place where you're not expected to know things you never is a great place to find.
And you bring up a really good point, like that level of accountability or expectation that we hold for ourselves in leadership. I think that men are just like supposed to be like natural born leaders, and many times we graduate from chiro school, we open a practice, we get going, and then we have employees, and we act as if like, well, that just means I'm a leader. No, that just means you're an employer, not a leader. But then we see other people doing things, or we have experienced leadership ourselves and hold ourselves to a standard of leadership that we've never had any training for. What is your experience in that realm of being leader in your practice, and what have you learned in and around the boot camp about leadership?
A lot that I've learned around the boot camp is like lead by example. And also the same thing where it's you can't expect someone to know something they haven't been taught. So if you haven't taught your staff something, you can't expect them to know what to do. So having the tools, resources, and the connections that you get through the boot camp to be able to, if you don't know something, find it out from someone else is super important, because you got to teach your people what to do. And if you don't know it yourself, you can't teach them that.
Yeah. And for those of you who are watching that have been to chiro school, or maybe you're in chiro school now, I teach a method in the boot camp called TMO, teach, model, and observe. And I based it on when we were all in gross anatomy. So I was a gross anatomy TA for 2 years at Logan, and our class involved like a classroom setting where we had a book, and we had netters, and we would go through the teaching part where Mr. Ellis would stand at the front of the classroom and teach us in a traditional setting. And then the modeling part was as TAs, and then Mr. Ellis, we would do pro sections. And so we would teach students like, this is what you're going to be dissecting this week, and this is what you want to learn, right? So I'm modeling for you what you're going to experience in the lab. And then the last one is the observation. Every Friday there was a quiz, and then we had a midterm and a final. And so that's teach, model, and observe. And so often I find that we hold ourselves, and especially our team, to standards whereby on the fly, maybe we like kind of mention something, but like really getting down in the nitty gritty and teaching them, number one, the basics, and then number two, modeling it for them, and then observing that they know how to do what we've instructed them to do, and then having a system to go back and check for like it's really easy to let things slip through the cracks. So it's one of the things I love about the daily success sheet is that You can't really let too much slip through the cracks because it's all laid out. What have you experienced in training your staff with TMO?
A lot of it really is you learn the process way more than you should. Like, then I think if you can't do something, you're going to get taken advantage of in business. So if you just expect someone to do part of your business that you don't understand, that's a recipe for disaster, because they're going to take advantage of that. Maybe they won't, but like the likelihood that, like, say you got someone doing your books and you have no idea what they're doing, the likelihood is you're not getting what you should be getting. So one, by showing them that you know how to do their job, it sets you up in a position of leadership that's like, hey, look, I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm teaching you how to do it. So if you have any questions, you can come to me and I'll have the answers. And then on the top of that, like, knowing every position in your business is a super important way to run a successful business with good employees.
I love that. You know, it's kind of like you and I have talked many times. My husband is an unbelievable well, he's a journeyman plumber by trade and then just a great leader and manager. And he's always had so much respect of the men that he leads because he's come up through the ranks. Like, he remembers what it was like to be on the tools, right? There's nothing that he would ask of his employees that he hasn't done or knows how to do. Whether it's, I don't know, I'm going to say something dumb because I don't know plumbing very well, but like, something with pipes and wrenches, he knows how to do it. So the same thing here of knowing how to do that. How does it relate to the boot camp being a friendly home for men?
Like I said earlier, because it's a place where you're not expected to know things. So therefore, you're going to get taught these methods. You're going to get resources to implement these methods in your office. Like, you're going to get the skeleton, if you will, of how to build your business. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And you have countless people in here. It's not just you who you can reach out to for help. You can reach out to anyone inside the boot camp for help, and they'll help you out, whether it be me, whether it be you, whether it be any of the other boot campers. Like, we're all more than willing to help, more than happy to help, and more than happy to like share what we've learned throughout the years. So you're not trying to reinvent anything. It's already been invented. Just make it your own.
I love that. And yeah, there's by God's grace, the boot camp I find is like the judgment free zone.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, whether you've been in practice for 15 years and you're like, you know what? I can't remember how to do that J move. Like, you could grab Dr. Barry and he'd be like, yeah, let's work on that, buddy. Like, no
I
problem. Or let's say that you're like, you know what? My exam it really sucks. Grab Dr. Liz Hafer and go through exam. Like, it's almost like that piece that is so common in human nature gets like muffled or just isn't a part of the people within our tribe, because I've seen it time and time and time again that every question is welcomed.
Yep.
Everyone's willing to help regardless of where you are in years of practice or as a student or your gender or your bank account. Like, we're all on the exact same playing field. And I truly believe that we embody, like, we all win together.
Yeah, and I was talking about that at the Nashville one, where no matter what your win, like, there's a lot of places in this world, social media being the biggest one, where you can't really place your wins because everyone has this zero sum mentality where it's like, if you're winning, I'm losing. So you're going to post some big achievement that you had, and you're going to get a lot of hate for it because you're just excited to share it, but they all see it as their loss because you succeeded. Whereas in the boot camp, no matter what your win is, we're all going to celebrate it because it is not a zero sum game out there. Like, your win is my win. Let's go. Like, and I think in the boot camp is where you find most people, like everyone that I've encountered anytime I've ever said anything, they're always excited. They're your biggest cheerleader and like your biggest anything. Like, you're just excited for your win, and they feel just as excited about your win as you do.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, I learned early on, my coach taught me 20 some years ago, be careful who you share your dreams with. And what that really related to is, if you tell your dreams and your wins to small thinkers, like you said, then they take it personally, like, oh, well, what do you think? I'm not doing a good job? It's like, actually, I wasn't even talking about you.
I'm also
I was 100% talking about my wins and my dreams. And I see in the boot camp, it's almost like we all fire each other up. Like, like my excitement ignites your excitement, ignites
yeah.
the next person's excitement. And so therefore, and the win doesn't have to be like, oh, I crushed it this month, I made an extra $100,000. It could be like, my spouse and I finally went on a date this week.
Yeah. I
Like,
have personal time because my business is running automatically because I taught my staff how to do their jobs correctly.
yes, yes, that we celebrate all of the
Or
victories. And
like I did this on automated like supplements, and it's like, and then everyone's like, "That's awesome," and they're like, "Do you want to learn how?" Because I'd be more than happy to tell you, and I
yeah,
expect nothing in return for it.
yes, yes, I love that. That it's all just, and I think it's because as boot campers, we embrace that when you teach somebody something, you learn it better.
Oh yeah, and that's the teach, model, observe method. The more you teach someone how to do something, the more you're going to learn how to do it.
Yes, I love that. And so I'm going back to the comment that Dr. Mark Basaniak made when he shared with all of us during the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp in Nashville. And for those of you who weren't there, Mark was not a boot camper, and he and I got to know each other. I invited him to the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp in Nashville. He came knowing no one, which that didn't last very long.
Oh,
He immediately jumped in and got to know everyone got to know him. And I was so touched. He had shared with me privately what his experience was, and then he shared with the rest of us. Summarize what he shared with us that weekend about his experience as a boot camper for the weekend.
I mean, he was basically he's been in practice what 20, 25 years, something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
He was just saying he thought that the practice was stagnant. He thought that like the profession was stagnant, not even his practice, the profession was stagnant. There wasn't like fire anywhere. And then he came and basically was like, oh wow, like the well runneth over. Like this is nothing but passion, fire, and excitement for what the profession should be and can possibly be if more people join and do it the right way. Where he was probably stuck in more of like a mechanistic world where he was talking to the wrong people. And if you just surround yourself with the right tribe, your thinking multiplies. I forget, I might have been Cordone or someone else where it was just like, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room. That's the worst room you could be in.
That
And this
is so
room
true.
full of people, like you might be the smartest in your field, and we would love you to join us if you're that person. But there's going to be someone else who knows more about another aspect of what you could do in your office. Then you can learn from them. So you never want to be the biggest fish in that small pond.
Yeah, and it was so exciting to see him just come alive. Like hey, there's Liz Hafer.
Hey,
He remembered who he was.
yeah,
Right. And it was so excited about chiropractic. And Liz, bless her heart, she texts him every week and just checks in on him since they're both in California. And it was such a moving story too about like he sees so much potential for our profession, meeting younger chiropractors like like obviously like you and Bree, and there were several young chiropractors there. And so I always say, our story can become the launch pad of somebody else's dream,
I
right?
mean,
Like they can see in Barry that, oh my gosh, like look at the life that Bree and Barry have created, and I want to do that too. And just being around a very inspired and grounded human being like Dr. Barry or Dr. Liz or Dr. Bree, it it just changes your perspective, and what you put in your RAS, right? Your reticular
that's what
activating system of what's possible. Go ahead.
you just like it's moving the goalpost. Like you just didn't know maybe that was possible, and the next thing you know, you're surrounded by a bunch of people who make it possible every day. And we'd love to have you and show you the way. Like it is not magic. It is hard work and it is systems, and it's all the things that you can get from the boot camp, and especially the go to the ones that are live. You get, so if the boot camp is essential, like boot camp like lives are like on steroids. Like the
Yeah.
connections that you make, the one-on-ones that you get, it's the stuff that's like after, like I said, when we were at the marketing boot camp in Nashville, we had a team and we still text every week. We
Yeah.
helping each other out. We're making sure that people are staying on course and know that they can create whatever it is they want their life to be.
And I love to so Dr. Barry and Dr. Bree are in coach training within the boot camp to be private coaches. And while we were doing coach training, I threw some of them and I just said, okay, you guys are gonna like have your little group of docs that you're gonna mentor and make connections with while we're at the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp. And Barry stepped up and did a great job with Team Turtle. Liz is on that team. And I love hearing that, you know, like one of you was struggling last week and on your team and all of you like rallied around her. And it was just, it's such a beautiful thing. Like there's just such rich community within the boot camp. So I'm here to invite you, and then I'm going to turn the microphone over to Barry. Like, guys, this is a great place. This isn't like we sit around and just gossip. And this isn't like mealy mouth world in the boot camp. So I can appreciate that. I was sharing with Barry, my husband, I went and picked up a snow machine yesterday, and my husband's quite the manly man. And so it's almost like everyone's always bowing up. Like all the guys are always bowing up when they're around him. Like, I don't know. It's just a funny thing to watch. And I remember getting in the truck feeling like, dude, I feel so bad for you. Like there's always so much competition. And it hit me again of how it must feel to a lot of men in practice that, you know, there are some really big male dominated coaching programs. I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that is what it is. And if that hasn't been a fit for you and you look around and it's either like, you know, male dominated that maybe you don't resonate with, or it's only women, like there isn't a place for you. And I want to personally invite all of you that feel that you're in that position. Please come be with us, check us out, talk to me, talk to Barry, come and maybe even start at the Business Plus Boot Camp. So I'm just going to tell all of you, there is a special place for you within our tribe. And I'd love to know you. I'd love to meet you face to face at the Business Plus Boot Camp. What about for you, Barry? What words do you want to leave with everyone?
So if you haven't joined the boot camp yet, definitely join the boot camp. But I highly, 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 highly recommend going to one of these live events, because I joined years ago, but it wasn't until recently that I started diving into it. And the more you put in, the more you get out. And if you start out at one of these live events, you're so far ahead of the eight ball already with the relationship, the people you meet. And it goes from being like this coaching program that you're in to a community of people who are here to help. You know them by name, you got their numbers, you've broken the ice. It's not a cold reach out. It's like, hey, remember we were together in Sherman the other week, hey, I liked what you said, you mind sitting down and talking? And it's a quick, yeah, sure, what time, when can we do it? So going to these live events really creates that personal touch that the boot camp does well doing, but you can never replace that one-on-one in-person stuff. So if you haven't joined the boot camp, join the boot camp. And if you have joined the boot camp and are hesitant about going to one of these live events, I tell you what, it's worth every penny, because not only I've been to a million seminars.
Yeah.
Done that. It's nothing like that. I watch the clock when I'm at those seminars, like, oh man, like, okay, we got another 10 minutes, cut that in half. It's 5. I can do 5 twice here.
Yeah.
Literally, like, you go through lunch and you don't even notice. You're so engrossed in what's going on that you're just like, oh my God, that was quick. Like, what happened to the morning? What did we even do? And it's like, you're just in the moment so much. It's something you can't really describe unless you've been there. So you'll get so much out of it.
I remember when we were all sitting on the floor at the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp, and we were just like kind of going around the room, and you said like this is what is so different. What was that about? Share with everyone.
We were choosing teams. It was the coaching together, and you were putting people on different teams, and you knew everybody personally. Like, you knew every story, you knew who would they meld with best on a team. You created these teams because you kind of knew who was best for what. And even if you didn't, like, you put the new people on a team with David, and he was the perfect coach for them to be on, because you put Sarah on that team as well, and they're two great personalities to be near those people and like coach. So like, you just knew where to put people and what the strengths of the people in the tribe, and you just, that's what makes it different, is like everyone knows and cares about everybody here.
Yes. And if you're someone too who you're wondering, like, does anyone ever even notice me? Right? Like, do I matter? Does anyone even really care about my business? Does anyone really care about me? We talked about like being seen
Oh yeah.
and what that looks like and what that feels like and how empowering even for the most introverted person that being seen really is. Let's end with that. What happens at boot camp events regarding being seen?
No one's a stranger. Even if you showed up as a stranger, you don't remain one. So like we go out and get dinner afterwards, grab a drink. Like everyone's around at all times to like, oh, you try and scoot off into the distance. Like, hey, you like, no, come get a drink real quick. Then you can go back to your room. It's no problem. It's one drink. It's fine. And the next thing you know, you're like, it's 11, and you're like, all right, we gotta get up in the morning. And like, I got two separate thank you cards for conversations that I didn't even really like. You never know the power of a conversation is going to have with someone because you don't know what their video game lens is. So like, you maybe like said one thing that's an off comment to you, but it meant the world to them. So like, being at these events, you get those small interactions, that one-on-one stuff, and it is something that you really cannot reproduce otherwise.
I love that. And really and truly, like the boot camp and even our events, they're not Dr. Barb. Like
Oh,
I'm not the sage on the stage. The spotlight isn't on me. It's 100% all of us together, and we all combine together to make it just an incredible experience. So, Dr. Barry, I just thank you so much for your and Bree's love and your friendship and the fun that we all have together, and just the ways in which you guys show up is really just so pure and authentic and loving. And I just want to acknowledge your success
thank you very much.
as well as just how much you guys both mean to me. So thank
Awesome.
you.
You mean the world to us. Our success is in part due to the boot camp. So you got to put in the work, but they give you the
Yeah.
scale, hold it around.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of you, please join us at the Business Plus Boot Camp. That's February 23rd through the 25th at Sherman College of Chiropractic. We do have 5 boot camp houses this year. So in true fashion to me as Mama Boot Camp, I like everyone to be together and to experience things that we haven't experienced before. And like Barry said, have those conversations. And so the first year, which was 4 years ago, this coming year, we had 1 house and then it went to 2 houses. Last year we had 3 houses, and this coming year we have 5 houses. And so what it is it's a time for us just to like, take off the professional face if we have 2 different faces, which I don't think that we do, and put on your pajamas and crack open a beer or pop a bowl of popcorn and just talk and have a great time together and really kind of live together. So this year we have a boot camp couples house that Barry and Bree are heading up. So if you come with your spouse or your partner, you can stay at that house. And then we have 4 other houses. It's super fun. We have a mixer event on Wednesday night at the boot camp lake house. And that's a time for doctors and students to meet, or doctors and new owner doctors and new doctors to hopefully make a connection, whether it's for a preceptor or a PMOE, or maybe even a position as an associate or independent contractor. So it's a great time for networking. The very next event that I have is the virtual Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp. That is January 12th and the 13th. That's a live event on Zoom. It is being recorded if you can't join us on Thursday and Friday. That event is what Barry and I have been talking about in Nashville. I did it live in Nashville, and we all loved it so much. I'm like, I got to be able to do this for everyone else. And it will teach you how to be the CMO, the CFO, the COO. I'm sorry, the CCO, the Chief Cultural Officer, and Chief Executive Officer of your business, so that you're running high profits, lots of fun, and a great leadership position. So I'll make sure that that gets put in the comment section as well. So to all of you, God bless you. Have a wonderful new year. And Dr. Barry, thanks again. I really appreciate your help.
I was happy to be here.
All right, everyone, have a great evening.